Hello everyone, how are here today? I'm taking a look at a few of the Casio watches that was released in the US last week. So this is the new Casio A130 series. It was actually released in Europe and Japan, I think in February, then started just released in the US last week, the last week of March 2025. There are total 4 different colors. I'm showing a photo here with 4 different colors, but I actually have 3 actual watches in front of me. The only one I don't have from the photo is the silver one with the black faceplate. So when we look at this watch, it's very naturally, people would think of this as sort of a smaller version of the AE1200, the world time. But they're actually not really. They are a continuation of a relatively new released LF series. LF20, I think that was released a couple of years ago. But these are sort of the newer iteration with the metal bracelet. And the case looks like a metal, but it's still resin, basically, a plastic type of material. So I've been testing this sort of a gunmetal dark gray one, the last few days. So the first reaction is, when you look at the numbers, the measures of the watch, it looks like a decent size because on the Casio's website, it's 40.5 by 33.9 by 9 millimeters thick. It's not very thick at all. But the 40.5, Casio basically includes the upper part of the case all the way to here and the bottom all the way to here. Not just the center, the main sort of a rectangle. If you look at the main rectangle, it's only about 32.3 top to bottom. The width is about, I think it's about 30. Actually, if you just look at this rectangle here, 32. The published 33.9s, including the little extra piece here without the button. If you add the button, 35.6. So the kind of the rectangle here in the middle, the watch face is only 32.3 by 32. It's a very small watch. When I first received this for testing, I'm like, wow, this is really small, just compared to a AE1 1200 award series, significantly different, because the one on the right, AE1200, including the top and bottom of the case, is 42.5 top, left to right 39, and also much thicker 12.4. But for the AE1200, if you just look at the middle square, the rectangle, it's 33.3 times 35.5, much wider. The height on the right, just the middle square section, it's just a little bit taller than the left, but left to right, it's 35.5, significantly bigger than this new A130. So just keep that in mind, because when you look at the photos, the watch looks like it's a decent size, but when you actually wear the watch, it's very small. I'll put on my wrist in a few minutes so you can take a look. So of the 3 different versions here, they all have different uniqueness. This far left, kind of like a gunmetal, a little bit dark, with a light sort of amber background. The middle one, it's the traditional stainless steel with a silver faceplate. It looks very clean. And the gold one, it's just a traditional gold colored. But the background, the one on the left looks a little beige. The one here like a light gray. And the one on the right kind of has a tiny bit of a more yellow in there. I mean, they all have their own characteristics and charm. Obviously, the one I don't have in front of me, the stainless steel with the black one, it's kind of the traditional look. Casio calls these new A130, basically A130WE series, retro futuristic face with stylish metallic colors and effective accent color, showcasing a passion for gadgets. I mean, they are kind of like cool gadgets, late 80s, has that late 80s, early 90s kind of a, retro look for sure. And they also look a little bit more futuristic, I guess, with the little analog clock on the left corner. You got the analog clock on the left corner. You got the regular digital display here. The day of the week, the date, and also you got the 10-second sort of little round thing here. And as some of the other readers from Europe and Japan already pointed out, these Casio watches, when you look straight on, I mean, the numbers in the background, it's not like super, super legible, but I don't think we actually look at these straight on. When you wear on the wrist, it's always a little bit angled like this. So the legibility, I guess it's not too bad. Again, I've always kind of felt like Casio definitely for these non-super expensive, non-high-end watches, they could make it a little bit more, a little bit better display for sure. I mean, now look at it. The silver one in the middle looks really clean. I mean, the gold one's got the old 80s and, charm gold, but the silver one, it looks very clean. This kind of the gunmetal, it's also a very nice color. Take another look at the face, Casio illuminator, the same standard adjust here, mode, then the search and light, water resistant. So this one, again, like I said, it's sort of a gunmetal color. It's very prone to, all of these, fingerprint, it's like a fingerprint magnet. Look at it, how many, you touch it, you got all these things. Take a look on the side. The other thing just to note is these buttons are super small. When I was trying to adjust these things, you gotta really push the button hard if you want to control it, or you have to use a fingertip nail. If you just push it, if you don't push it like right now, I'm pushing it, but I'm sort of pushing hard. But if I don't push it too hard, like there's no like they're not reacting very well. You see that? I gotta push it hard, like really push it. So it's got the standard features as most of these general Casios do. The standard time, you got the world time. You have 4 different time zones. Oh, I'm actually changing the time by accident. That's not what I want to do, actually. I want to go back to... so you can select, I think, like 30 cities to set as your home time. I'm in New York right now, so that's New York. You got the alarm, timer, stopwatch. Yeah, pretty standard feature. It has a light, back lid. Right now, I'm kind of... at the end of the day, it's not going to show it too clearly, but let's do this angle to see if we can see a little light. Yeah, I guess it's decent enough. But yeah, these buttons are just ultra small. So it does have the stainless steel bracelet. I think it's definitely better than these cheaply made plastic. It's a little bit easier, especially for smaller wrist. You're not going to have, because this is the adjustable clasp, you're not going to have the tail sitting like these regular watches all the way up when you wear on a small wrist like this. It just looks ugly. But this hides. So it's pretty standard. It's not the most sophisticated. You just hook on this and close it. So it looks pretty seamless, pretty clean. And then you can adjust fairly easily by lifting this piece here. Then you can move, slide this clasp to fit your wrist size. But just be careful, when you use a small like screwdriver, gently lift this up. If you push it too hard or lift it too hard, it's very easy to damage this little metal piece here. They're not the most solidly made. So just be careful when you adjust the width. And the silver one again looks clean, man. The silver one definitely looks nice. The gold one's got the charm. The old gangster back in the 80s, you know. Let me put on my wrist just to take a look how it looks. Okay, my wrist size is 6.5 inches, 16.5 centimeters. So this looks actually pretty small, my wrist. Obviously, from the, when you look at the fit from the video, it looks pretty big, but I got tons of space here, and it definitely, it's small. I wouldn't say it's tiny, but again, that's kind of where the retro comes in. Old watches are not that big. It's just the watches in the last 10 years have gotten so big. But, if you have a smaller wrist, like 16 centimeters or 15 and a half, or even smaller, this might be a pretty good fit. I think for my 16.5 centimeter, I felt like it's a little bit small, but doable. Here's a just quick look of the AE1200 on the left. I mean, it looks almost like a gigantic compared to the new A130 on the right. But the AE1200 to me is actually a pretty good size for my 16.5, centimeter wrist. Again, like I said, on the video, it does look a little bit bigger, but in real life, but you can see the difference. I mean, they're quite significant, the difference. Here's a look of the silver and the gold. Yeah, it looks pretty shiny. These piece here, it's a little bit more reflective compared to the sort of the gunmetal look. The gunmetal look, the side, it has a little bit darker color, but these two looks pretty shiny. Again, on the video, it doesn't look super small. But also, I guess, after wear it for a while, you kind of get used to the size. You wouldn't feel like this is an absolutely tiny watch. It looks pretty good. I mean, I would say, it looks decent. I think the challenge is always the price. The pricing on these are not low. Sure, the bracelet it's a stainless steel bracelet, but the case, it's still resin, like I said. Look, okay, this is a better light. It's outside almost sunset time, so it looks a little bit brighter. But the case is resin, not plastic, right? So it's not like this is a true stainless steel model. So the silver one and also the silver one with the black face, these are, I think, for $70 in the US. And this gunmetal and the gold is $90. Definitely, it's not cheap. I feel like, ideal price for these, if it's $20 lower, I think that would be great. But for 70 and 90, I mean, they're definitely not that low. But I think if you want something that's, a little bit more, like I said, the Casio's promoting these as retro futuristic. It has a little bit more shininess, polishedness, a little bit shininess, looks like a fake metal, on top, compared to a regular AE1200. It does look a little bit more, modern. At the same time, smaller size makes it more retro. So, yeah, but I do highly recommend, if you have a chance, take a look at these in person. Try this on your wrist to get a sense how you feel about the size. Like I said, when I first got this, man, I felt like, wow, this is really small. But now I've had it for a few days, kind of looking at it. It's acceptable. For smaller wrist, 16.5 and smaller, it's probably acceptable. Okay, this is the newly released Casio A130 WE series. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.